Well, great to be here in the middle of Illinois. My parents were both born in Illinois, so we spent plenty of time all over the state, from one end of the state to the other. We started out early today in Godfrey, making our way here. It's good to be in the Bloomington area. Earlier this year was over at Eureka College, and tonight we'll make our way out to Chicago. So we're crisscrossing the state. It's really important for us. March 15th is going to be a big day across America. We think we can do well in the primary here in Illinois, as well as in neighboring Missouri, and make sure we do well in North Carolina on that day. We think that'll be key for the nomination process. So you're going to see us a lot back here in the land of Lincoln, and we think a lot of the Midwestern values that we have from Wisconsin translate to other states, be it Illinois, Iowa, or elsewhere throughout the Midwest. We're pleased of our record. I think when people look at the fact that we've done more than just fight, we fought and won. There's a lot of good Republicans running, but they're either fighters or winners. We've done both, and I think that's what people are looking for, not just on the Republican side. I think that's what Americans are looking for, someone who will fight and win for the American people every single day.
Governor, you started talking about fighters. It seems like Donald Trump trying to pick a fight with you, and you're not really taking the bait.
No, I've said repeatedly, I'm going to let Donald Trump and any other candidate speak for themselves. I think voters here, and you saw it again today, heads nod when I said I think people want to they want you to tell you what they're for. Americans want to vote for something and for someone, not against something. I think they're tired of candidates talking about who they're against. We're going to focus on what we're for. We're not going to get in the fights with fellow Republicans. We're going to talk about where we want to take this country and talk about reform, growth, and safety, and what it means for every American.
What do you make of Mike Huckabee's?
What advice would you give to Governor Rauner about settling our budget problems here?
I talked to him earlier today. I said, hang tough. And I think he clearly told folks what he was going to do. He even invoked me and former Governor Mitch Daniels and said he's going to stand up and do the right thing. One of the things we did was try to think more about the next generation than just about the next election. I think that's the kind of leader you have with Governor Rauner. He's someone who's not worried about the next campaign. He's worried about getting things under control here. I heard an interesting story from Congressman Davis this morning, who said he bumped into someone, a public worker in Springfield, told him he was a lifelong Democrat, but that he liked the governor because he finally said somebody was standing up and acting like a grown-up and trying to get things done. I would encourage him to keep focused on the next generation of taxpayers.
Governor Walker, Wisconsin was ranked second in education prior to you coming in. What would you say to the critics who say somewhat misrepresented?
We were tied. Our ACT scores have actually gone up. Our graduation rates have gone up. Our third grade reading scores have gone up. Those are the facts. The facts are pretty clear. The reason I bring that up is because all the protesters said public education was going to fall apart. Here we sit 4 years later, and things have actually gotten better.
And they said they were better before you.
But it's not true. The ACT scores have actually gone up since I've been. We were tied for second. We're alone for second right now, but the scores have actually gone up. The graduation rates are higher today than they were 4 years ago. Third grade reading scores are higher out there. So we've heard plenty of attacks for years that they don't match up with what the facts are. The facts are schools, local governments, state governments better, and the taxpayers are better.
We know you're against the Iran deal, but was Governor Huckabee's comments about walking Jews to the oven the wrong rhetoric for this race?
Well, as I've said all along, I'm not going to talk about other candidates, but I will tell you my tone is focused on issues. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to lay out the facts. You're going to hear me talk very much like we talk here in the Midwest, where it's not about trying to scare people. It's really just bottom line, telling people what's at stake. I think in the case of the Iran deal, it's a bad deal. I think it was right the other day in front of the Senate committee when you had a number of senators that said to Secretary of State Kerry, if this is such a good deal, why isn't it before the United States Senate as a treaty? That's because it is a bad deal. It will accelerate the base of nuclear arms in the Middle East, and sadly, it will probably put Israel at greater threat, not just from nuclear weapons, but because of the money that Iran will now have freed up to spend on terrorism.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge in this primary race with having so many candidates?
The biggest challenge is just breaking through. I think when people look and they say, okay, there's a lot of fighters, a lot of people in Washington who've been good at fighting, but they haven't won. There's a lot of other candidates who are good winners. There are people who won election or re-election, but they haven't been in the fights of late. I'm the only one who's done both. And when people see that, not only Republicans, but I think Americans want someone who's going to fight and win for them. For your question about the plan, yeah, I think it's simple. To me, if we're going to negotiate, we should negotiate on our terms, not on Iran's terms. I would say get rid of the illicit nuclear infrastructure, provide full disclosure, including underground fortified facilities, and start dealing with their destructive behavior within the region where they're one of the leading state sponsors of terrorism. In contrast, I would on my day, first day in office, I would be prepared to terminate the bad deal with Iran, to reinstate the congressionally authorized sanctions, to work with Congress to put in place even more crippling sanctions going forward, and to reach out, and I'd start the day after the election, not the first day in office, to reach out to our allies to convince them to do the same. Iran is not a place we should be doing business with.
One more. Years closing, but the company is working with UAW to find a new company to replace them. Do you think that's going to put Mitsubishi at a disadvantage?
Again, I don't know enough about the specifics here. I do know that from our standpoint, what we want to do is send resources and power back from Washington to states in an area like workforce development, worker training. We'd send those dollars back to the state and the local level where they can be done more effectively here in the region and at the state level as opposed to one size fits all in Washington. I think that would help people in any number of circumstances not only attract and create more jobs, but actually increase wages for people all across Michigan.
What would your immigration
All right, y'all gotta
plan
go.
look like?
For us, we'd secure the border, enforce the law, don't believe in amnesty. Going forward, I have a legal immigration system that gave priority and focus on American working families and their wages in a way that will help improve the American economy, which fits in with your question about how do you help people here. Thanks, everybody.